On tonight's Wildcast, we dive into how a local library is celebrating their anniversary,
as well as provide a glimpse into how the city's film scene is incorporating the spooky season. Wildcast starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Wildcast. I am Joey Bernal Alonso.
And I'm Brooke Thrower.
Brooke, I know tonight is your first night ever anchoring. How are you feeling?
I'm definitely a little bit nervous, but super excited to get into these stories.
That's all right, let's jump right in. Getting straight into tonight's show, our top stories all revolve around the city of Tucson and what is affecting the community as a whole. The first, how the city of Tucson assesses declaring a housing and homelessness emergency. The city currently faces an upcoming housing shortage, needing nearly 35,000 new housing units in the next decade. City leaders consider their options moving forward as Tucson's needs for housing and homelessness have yet to be met. Various organizations have attempted to arrange shelters in the area, but zoning regulations have come in the way. If City Council declares the emergency, an emergency action plan will be enacted. This would allow for exemptions to be made regarding these issues so that new shelters could develop.
While the city comes together to plan new housing, they also come together in support of the old libraries. One Pima County Public Library celebrated a major milestone earlier this week, which the community gathered for. UATV3 reporter Elias Bonilla has more on this anniversary.
In a showcase of history and community, Murphy-Wilmot Public Library celebrated their 60th anniversary this past weekend. Last weekend, the Murphy-Wilmot Library celebrated their 60th diamond anniversary with a variety of events for the community. From the moment the library opened all the way to the late afternoon, the schedule was packed with fun for both children and adults. The anniversary kicked off with a fascinating historical presentation and remembrance of Tucson in the 1950s and 60s, including a walkthrough of history through the experiences of longtime Tucson educator Yvonne Flores. Flores, who grew up in Tucson when the city was still finding its footing, recounted her time as a child where she experienced racial segregation, civil rights movements, and her experience as the only Hispanic bilingual student in her school.
Mom, are we Mexican? My mom says, why do you ask? And she said, well, Connie Thomas asked me, are you Mexican? And my mom said, well, what did you tell her? She said, no, I told her I'm not Mexican, I'm Catholic.
She took her audience through Tucson history, like her experiences as a student of former politician Sister Claire Dunn and her love of the bookmobile. However, she says that her proudest accomplishment was her teaching career.
I wanted to work where I could make the greatest difference. So when I got a job offer and I interviewed at Tanca Verde and Catalina and Sunnyside, I chose Sunnyside because I wanted to really impact children. And then they offered me the bilingual position. I said to them, well, if you hire me, I'll tell you what, if I don't think I'm doing a good job, I'll quit. You won't have to fire me, because I wouldn't do that to my students.
After the speech, children could enjoy a planetarium, a variety of arts and crafts, and a showing of the Jetsons. With the library's deep history as a product of modernity and comfort, along with it being one of the first regional branches in Tucson, Murphy-Wilmot's manager tells me it's a library that has a huge impact on the community.
Because every day at the public library, we are changing lives with information and access to early literacy. Just watching parents bringing their kids to a story time is an amazing moment because we know that we're part of that.
For many, Pima County libraries like Murphy-Wilmot still remain a place for the public to come together and celebrate Tucson. For UATV3, I'm Elias Bonilla.
Moving from a public library to public transportation, FlixBus gives passengers the opportunity to potentially save a life. FlixBus has entered a long-term partnership with DKMS, an international nonprofit. Their organization works to grow the global registry of stem cell donors, through their new campaign called Your Journey Could Save a Life. FlixBus and DKMS team up to do just that. This campaign invites FlixBus passengers, many of which are U of A students, riding to the Phoenix airport to register as potential donors. Passengers can connect to the onboard Wi-Fi while riding, which will take them to the landing page where they can check their eligibility and begin the donor registration process.
While these past stories have looked at what affects the city of Tucson as a whole, we're moving to what specifically impacts Tucson's entertainment scene.
Newly announced renovations on a historical theater, as well as how film lovers can get in the spooky spirit. We'll have more after a short break.
I'm Kate Condon, and you're watching UATV3.
This is Madeline Heinrich, and you're watching UATV3.
I'm Jaden Zelm.
I'm Demetra Alarcon.
I'm Carly Siegel.
I'm Delaney Penn.
I'm Gabby Rosenberg.
I'm Rachel. My name's Simone.
I'm Isabella Will.
I'm Avery Klein.
I'm Joey Bernal Alonso.
And I'm Pablo Rojas.
And you're watching With a bustling film population, Tucson is home to a variety of opportunities and locations that call to film lovers.
Our next stories dive into these, starting with the renovations that impact the historical theater. The Fox Tucson Theater looks to renovate after receiving demolition permissions earlier this last week. The Fox, which employs and hosts students for a variety of events, will renovate and expand into the historic buildings next door. The renovations are expected to be completed in 2030, in time for the 100th anniversary of the Fox Theater, adding elevators and a second, smaller theater, as well as expanding the lobbies. They can now begin to move forward with the plans.
Switching from a movie theater to a film festival, Terrorfest celebrates their 15th year of horror in Tucson. The weekend-long festival featured new and old independent films, along with a horror convention that catered to the weird and unusual. UATV3 reporter Rachel Keatsman attended and has more on the event.
For just one weekend, Tucson is welcoming back the horror film festival known as Terrorfest. With Halloween just around the corner, festival goers can not only get into the spooky spirit, but can also check out some new films. Terrorfest is Tucson's only film festival specifically geared towards horror films. Celebrating their 15th anniversary this year, the festival rolled out all the red carpets, bringing in horror director legend Mick Garris, with screenings taking place at the Screening Room and Pigeon Palace Arts. The festival ran from Thursday through Sunday, showcasing new independent shorts, feature films, and retro cult horror classics from directors across the country. Native Tucson director Rene Rivas screened his new short titled Grunge at the festival Saturday afternoon. He shared why this festival was so important to him.
I think it's important to represent the home turf. You know, the production that we shot was called Grunge, and it's this film right here. And, you know, like obviously our film is making the rounds at other film festivals, but we want to play it here for the Tucson community because our cast is here, our crew is here. And we found that it's important to represent Tucson.
To end the night on Saturday, the festival hosted a screening of Sleepwalkers, followed by a Q&A with the film's director, Mick Garris. Garris is known for his work on many Stephen King adaptations, along with the classic Hocus Pocus. He answered questions from fans and gave insight into the creation of Sleepwalkers, as well as announcing he is working on a new project with Stephen King. Along with the festival, Terrorfest also hosted a horror convention. Vendors filled the Ramada Hotel with their supernatural creations. Anjali Fascio shares what brought her to the convention.
Well, this is the thing that I love about Tucson is we have so many different markets here that cater to terror and the weird and the whimsical, and so this market has been like so much fun because we have just amazing creators here that make stuff like I do, but everybody's like so different.
Reporting for UATV3, I'm Rachel Keatsman.
Fright does not end there for film fanatics, as Nightfall still has several scares ahead. Nightfall is hosted yearly by Old Tucson as a popular Wild West film set. They use their entertainment knowledge to transform the theme park into a haunting place after dark. UATV3 reporter Logan Kimmel brings some of the scares to tonight's show.
We are here at Old Town Tucson, where they're hosting their annual Nightfall event for its 33rd year. There's tons to do here for little kids, like a petting zoo and face painting, to even scarier things like haunted houses and even actors walking around the fairgrounds scaring people. This is the perfect attraction to check out during the spooky season of October, and I recommend all you Wildcats come here.
Movie buffs and people chasing a scare, make your way to Old Tucson.
This family theme park and film set that was built in 1939 is just outside of Tucson, where 4 John Wayne movies were filmed, as well as other blockbuster films. One of the events that is held at Old Tucson each year is Nightfall. The park is transformed with actors and haunted houses to bring in the spooky season. Greg, one of Nightfall's staff who has been working at Nightfall since 1998, starting out as a stunt performer and now acting as stunt coordinator and entertainment supervisor, showed us around the park, and he shared with us a little bit about the evolution of Nightfall.
And there's genuinely something magical about this place that just gets under your skin and into your blood the moment that you're out here. We've started in the early 90s doing Nightfall out here. A story about a demented doctor that takes over a town and controls all of the inhabitants and turns them into kind of like an asylum out here and experiments on them here and there.
Nightfall brings in a lot of yearly return visitors as well as attracts new customers chasing the scare. Greg talked to us about how they keep the event interesting for the returning guests.
Absolutely, we try and keep things fresh. We have character interactions that you can do, some little subplot stories that you can investigate if you'd like to, or just come and experience the incredibly scary haunted houses that change every year, the entertainment that changes every year. You don't see anything twice. We try and, it's like reinventing the wheel every year, but we try and keep things as interesting as possible for our return guests because we want Tucson to come back over and over again to see all of the different things that we're doing.
The month of October gets people excited and embracing their scary sides. We spoke with some Nightfall first-timers to hear why they love this season.
It's just the spooky, creepy time of year, and that's me year-round, so I just embrace it and get a little bit creepier.
Nightfall isn't all just fear and horror. There's rides for children and adults, non-scare zones, and a whole lot of history to explore. Nightfall runs from now until November 1st, so be sure to check it out while you can. Reporting for UATV, this is Logan Kimmel.
Brooke, I just loved watching this package, but on that note, do you have any costumes yet?
I will be Indiana Jones, Eve from the movie WALL-E, and then a special third costume for anyone who tunes in this Friday to our Daily Dose.
Then definitely tune in for Friday's Daily Dose. As for me, I think I'm probably going to do a Cleopatra costume, but for now, let's keep this going. Spooky events like these are not all there is to look forward to.
When we come back, Elias Bonilla will cover all things Arizona sports. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Wildcast. My name is Elias Bonilla. Let's take a second and recap all the sports played this last weekend and week on this episode of Wildcast. Women's soccer is nearing the end of their season, and this past weekend they played in their third to last and penultimate games of the season. On Thursday, they hosted TCU, where they lost their 6th straight game. It's been a tough season for the Wildcats, where their only highlights have really been their strong defense. In their TCU matchup, they had a similar stat line to the Horned Frogs, matching total shots and corner kicks. However, a goal early by TCU allowed them to take the lead early, and that 1-0 score would end up being the final score. Their season continued yesterday, where they played their final away game in the regular season. As the visitor in Boulder to play Colorado, they were confident to break their losing streak. However, the troubles continued, as they again lost 1-0. Colorado was 12-2 entering the matchup, so Arizona knew they had to keep up and hold their own. And they did, attempting 12 shots, including 4 by midfielder Lily Boydston. However, Colorado's early goal ultimately was enough to win, as Arizona falls to 7-11 on the season. Their regular season wraps up on Thursday, where they host their division rivals, Arizona State. Moving to women's volleyball, they've had some absolute thrillers this season, like their duel against Utah. This week they headed to Ames to play Iowa State, and then hosted ASU. In their Iowa State matchup, it was one-sided, as they were shut out 3-0. Arizona's Jordan Wilson and Carly Cisneros had great games with 14 and 12 kills respectively, but no Wildcat could stop Iowa State's electric offense. With 3 straight unanswered scores by Iowa State, it resulted in a disappointing loss. Arizona tried to redeem itself against ASU, but was ultimately unsuccessful, losing 3-1. It was a hard-fought battle, though, where the Wildcats tied up by winning the second set. However, they would lose both the third and fourth sets by 16-25, where Arizona had 5 blocks in the third set, limiting Arizona to a 0.000 hitting percentage. Jordan Wilson had 19 kills, but it ultimately wasn't enough to take down ASU's offense. Their next matchup will be Texas Tech on Wednesday. Women's basketball is starting their season up, but they were unsuccessful in their exhibition matchup against Division II school West Texas A&M. They lost 57-60, as the West Texas Buffaloes led for a majority of the matchup. Arizona struggled to score, trailing 52-37 in the half, with a disappointing 28.6 shooting percentage. Sumaya Sugapong and Lana Cornfield were the most impressive, however, scoring in the double figures, though it wasn't enough to find victory. The regular season begins November 6th against UC Riverside. One sport to keep an eye on this week, men's basketball preseason continues with an exhibition against Embry-Riddle before they head to Las Vegas to start their season. More about men's basketball will be covered on Wednesday's starting lineup, so make sure to tune in then. That's all I have for Wildcat Sports right now, though. Make sure to go watch Wednesday's starting lineup, where we'll have a special breakdown of men's basketball across the Big 12 Conference.
With that, it is now time for us to wrap up tonight's Wildcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and to subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch everything we have in store. Once again, I'm Brooke Thrower.
And I'm Joey Bernal Alonso. We'll see you again the Wednesday for the starting lineup. Have a wonderful evening, Wildcats.